SEC Media Days from Dallas 2024 as the league grows to 16. Our coverage brought to you by our friends at mybookie.ag, mybookie.ag. Promo code next round. The league is growing. Our friendship, though, with this guy has been around a long, long time.
Well, I don't want to make Dennis sound old, but is this the third round of SEC expansion that you've been here for the beginning of?
I guess it is. I don't go back quite to South Carolina or Arkansas.
Okay, all right. It's the second round then at least, yeah.
Right. I was covering college football then, but not on a full-time basis. But yeah.
Boy, and this seems like, just light years ahead as far as like the impact. You go back, I don't think there really was anything on the buzz meter for South Carolina and Arkansas. A&M was interesting just because they left Texas. But this, we go from it just means more in the SEC to 16 strong, and we got a couple of heavy hitters coming in.
Yeah, the Texas-Oklahoma thing, I wrote about it last week, I think. It's the most successful piece of realignment in history, if you think about it. When they bring, 8 total national championships, the following that they have, the arrogance that sometimes they have, I think that goes with it too. In the history, it's just going to be great. And I think one of the things you have to talk about, everybody wants to talk about, are they going to be ready for the SEC, particularly Texas? Is the SEC going to be ready for Texas? Because now, when you have so many misses in these conference schedules, like I think there's 7 for each team, maybe 8 in a 16-team conference, suddenly Texas is on your schedule and Mississippi isn't, or Oklahoma is on your schedule and somebody else isn't. So they're going, obviously they make the strength of schedule better. That's what this whole thing is about. But I think there's some things that the SEC schools are going to have to get used to as well.
I'm interesting because I grew up in Alabama, and we know Alabama's history. You're talking about arrogance. I've never noticed the Alabama arrogance because
never.
He's been part of it.
I've lived there. Is there a comparison between what Alabama has done nationally, arrogant-wise, of their fan base, of their players when they walk around to the Texas? You've been around Texas a lot more than we have.
It's really Texas. I shouldn't have included Oklahoma in there. It's not so much. But Texas are, I look back in the Big 12. Those two schools, everybody wants, they ruled the Big 12. They ruled the Big 12 boardroom. They won combined 11 of 27 Big 10 titles.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, they didn't even win half of them.
Wow.
Just imagine if you put Georgia and Alabama in the Big 12.
Yeah, they would every year.
Every year.
But it was stuff like, it started in 1996. I remember with partial qualifiers. The Texas, with its high academic standards, didn't want partial qualifiers. And they got it pushed through. And Bill Snyder and Tom Osborne at the time lost their minds because that was a big advantage that they had with their rosters, whether you believed in it or not. They admitted partial qualifiers. Well, that gave Texas a leg up, and even with them in some ways as the years went by, and certainly Nebraska went downhill from there. But it's really in the boardroom, not on the field so far.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing, Dennis, is I think people have this perception that Texas is this infinitely better program than Oklahoma, but really Oklahoma's the more accomplished of the two programs. They've won more national championships. They've been more consistently good of late than Texas has been. Now, the one thing Texas holds is the Red River. They do own the head-to-head by, I think, like 20 games in that, which is significant. That's nothing to ignore, but overall, Oklahoma's really the more accomplished program.
It is, but that game, and look, people, if they don't understand the Red River rivalry, is like no other. It's
now you've been to Iron Bowls, Dennis.
I've been to Iron Bowls.
Yes.
I've been to. I'm in the process of working on a Utah BYU thing. That thing is definitely the holy ward. But there are great rivalries throughout the country. But that literally defines how they carry themselves for the year.
Yeah.
Last year Texas won the league, went to the playoff, but Oklahoma beat them. They beat them in the last minute, last 30 seconds, or whatever. My favorite story from that, I'll diverge really quick. Somebody made a group of guys had made a sign, big sign, where you could change the minutes of the day by hand. It wasn't digital. It was a piece of cardboard. And it said it's 10:32 and Texas still sucks. And they would change it minute by minute going up to game time. So that's what we're talking about.
Well, look, Texas A&M back to 2012 in that expansion, they thought that they had escaped Big Brother. And now Texas comes rolling in. Do you think, look, and I know the money is massive in the SEC, but if A&M could go back to the Big 12, they could dominate the Big 12. Do you think, like, secretly behind the scenes, if they could just make that transition back, they do it?
No. Look, are they upset that Texas is now in their backyard? Absolutely. That's why Ross Bjork was there 3 years ago today at Hoover when that word leaked out, because he knew and he wanted to make it clear that they didn't want Texas and they were going to fight them getting into the league. Obviously, it didn't work. But I can't wait for Thanksgiving. Is it Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Well, no, it's the 30th.
The 30th.
Yeah,
Okay.
Saturday.
Yeah, I can't wait because.
And imagine if they have an opportunity to keep Texas out of the playoff.
Right.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, or something
Yeah.
like that. It's going to add another level. When they say it just means more, look at all the possibilities you have. That is a sure one. Texas, Oklahoma is now under that umbrella. Just mix and match. Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, at any given time. It's going to be amazing.
Our coverage from Dallas and SEC Media Days brought to you by our friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Promo code next round to play all the football games we're talking about. I'm interested. We hear Alabama and Georgia and Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri. I don't know how deep you want to go to find a dark horse Cinderella team. Maybe it's Missouri and Ole Miss for you. Maybe it's Alabama or someone else. Who is a sneaky team that you think could find their way into the playoffs this year?
Yeah, I think that's how you got to look at almost every major conference now, the context of the playoff meeting everybody in the middle, where if Missouri does what it did last season, they're in the playoff. Ole Miss the same way, or at least in the discussion. I just talked to Brian Kelly about it upstairs. He had a good point. He said you don't want to be, we were, what were they last year? 9-3, I think, in the regular season, and they would have been right there at the cut line. You're not 12th because that 12th spot goes to that group of 5 team. You usually will. You want to be 11th, and LSU was 13th, or would have been 13th. So I think the schools you mentioned, I think there's a larger story to be done there, that it meets schools in the middle like Ole Miss, like Missouri, like Arizona, like Kansas State, that have never done anything like this. Ole Miss claims championships from 1960 or 62 or something. That ain't the same thing. This would be playing for an on-the-field championship.
We did this story the other day, though, and I cannot remember the guy's name, but he was talking about the playoff, and maybe the higher seed's not always the home team. We got to consider weather and hotels and things like that. We can't mess this up, Dennis. If you're the 5 seed, you're the home team. If you're the 6 seed, you're the home team.
Was that a real comment, or was that taken out of context?
There was a presentation in Las Vegas last month at NACTA, the AD's national convention. Right. The CFP did it, and they revealed that the only 2 schools that have a conflict are Northwestern and Kansas. Now, Northwestern probably,
I think we're safe. Yes.
Yeah, Northwestern probably not. But Kansas has a chance to win. There's only one date they can play on in the first round, because the Chiefs play the Ravens on the 21st Saturday, I think.
Oh, that's right. Kansas doesn't have a stadium.
And they're playing in their last 4 games are at Arrowhead because of stadium expansion or construction. And there was only one game played on Friday. And if they're the highest-ranked team, then they might have to play, the highest-ranked team, they might have to play on the road the way things go like that. So that was the only conflict.
Okay. Right, well, that's good.
So they're not going to take, like baseball does, where ticket sales, stadium size, anything. They won't take that into consideration.
No. The one I thought of was Penn State. Now, Penn State has a realistic chance of being in the playoff. That's the same weekend as graduation. Now, apparently that's not a conflict. But if you've ever been to State College, not too many hotels there. And when you've got graduation and 100,000 people playing the day before, I don't know where they put all those people.
Sticking with Penn State, let's say they go 10-2, and their 2 games they lose are 2 top 10 teams, but they somehow get into a college football playoff. If you're a Penn State fan, that's great, but it's still the same old James Franklin.
Yeah, well, no, Penn State's one of those teams I'm talking about. You go 10-2, now you're playing for something. You're probably in the playoff at 10-2 in that scenario. Instead of just, here we go, maybe the Rose Bowl, maybe a top Big Ten Bowl. And it is getting to be like Groundhog Day there. But I think if they do that, especially these 2 leagues, that's what it's all about, and even 9-3. I did a story during spring meetings in Destin, let everybody in the SEC crow about we should absolutely get in 9-3 with our schedule. I think they're right. Depending on who they beat, if you beat the right teams and you lose 3 games and you play a strong non-conference schedule, you're going to be strongly considered over an 11-1 team from the American or something like that.
Oh, if Oklahoma with that schedule was 9-3, they're in this year.
Yeah.
Or should be at least.
Yeah,
it should be.
Yeah.
One more big question for Dennis Dodd, and then a gift for him after LT tells us about our friends at Vulcan Tire and Automotive.
Yeah, we made the drive from Birmingham yesterday to Dallas and made sure we go by Vulcan Tire and Automotive, get everything checked, bumper to bumper, convenient locations throughout Birmingham. VulcanTireandAuto.com for more information. Make sure you mention in the next round.
I'm interested about the Big 12 because you live in that part of the country. Are they the aggressor that the ACC should be worried about, or not?
Boy, that opens up a whole can of questions, because you're talking about Florida State.
Yeah.
Big Ten doesn't want them. The SEC doesn't want them until further notice. That could change tomorrow. I don't know. The Big 12 would take them in a minute, but I suspect that fan base would revolt if they went to the Big 12. But think about the irony. The reason they're in the ACC is in '92, Bobby Bowden had his choice, ACC or SEC, and he picked the ACC because it was easier to win. Good choice. That's why they'd be attractive to the Big 12 and vice versa, because they could be that team and maybe get a weighted share and get closer to where they want to be. But playing in the Big 12 for those fans, but look, it may not matter. That may be all they have.
We teamed up with Who Is Coffee last year, and we know you're a coffee drinker, so we got a gift for all of our guests here. This is the next round coffee. Now, we left one person in the group where you can draw on your own face, your own hair, whatever you want to do.
Is that you guys? Look at that.
Look at us on the coffee. Yeah.
You've got your own coffee with your own faces on it.
Big
That's
time.
great.
Big time.
And for those that are watching our coverage out here, Media Days 24 promo code when you go to nextround.store. Media Days 24, you get 24% off the entire order. It is a blend from around the world. We worked on it. These guys, including Forrester, worked on this flavor. You're going to love it. I promise you. It is good coffee.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports. Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, guys.
All right, our coverage presented by MyBookie.ag. Code next round.